of health care, it's not working. It's failed to create the jobs we need. 23 million Americans are struggling for work today. 15% of Americans are in poverty. This is not what a real recovery looks like. You deserve better. Mitt Romney and I want to earn your support. We're offering real reforms for a real recovery for every American. Mitt Romney, his experience, his ideas, his solutions, is uniquely qualified to get this job done. At a time when we have a jobs crisis in America, wouldn't it be nice to have a job creator in the White House? The choice is clear. A stagnant economy that promotes more government dependency, or a dynamic, growing economy that promotes opportunity and jobs. Mitt Romney and I will not duck the tough issues. And we will not blame others for the next 4 years. We will take responsibility. And we will not try to replace our founding principles. We will reapply our founding principles. The choice is clear, and the choice rests with you. And we ask you for your vote. Thank you.
And thank you both again. Thank you very much. This concludes the vice presidential debate. Please tune in next Tuesday for the second presidential debate at Hofstra University in New York. I'm Martha Raddatz of ABC News. I do hope all of you go to the polls. Have a good evening.
All right, they're joined by their families on the stage right now, the Vice President of the United States and the Republican vice presidential nominee. A strong debate with clear differences on some of the most critical issues facing the American voter today, issues involving taxes, Medicare, abortion rights for women. The vice president came out swinging today. Unlike President Obama, he immediately raised the issue of Romney's controversial 47% comment. He also spoke aggressively about the president saving the American auto industry, GM and Chrysler in particular. But there was a testy exchanges on Medicare and so many other issues. It looks like, at least to me, pretty much of a draw as far as this debate is concerned. We're going to have full reality checks from our John Berman, Tom Foreman. They're going through the facts that were described today, who was telling more of the truth, who was fibbing a little bit. We're going through all of that tonight. You also saw those focus group results at the bottom of the screen. Who liked what they saw? These were independent voters in Virginia. We're certainly going to hear from them. Aaron Burnett is standing by from them. We're going to hear if any of them changed their minds as a result of what we heard. We also will be getting an instant poll, a scientific poll of people who actually watched this debate, and they will give us their opinion. Who won? Who came out stronger? Would it be the vice president? Would it be the congressman from Wisconsin? They're still up on the stage. I'm sure they're both pretty happy right now with their respective performances. And based on everything I saw there tonight, it looked like their respective supporters were pleased. Unlike that first presidential debate when so many Democrats, supporters of President Obama, were deeply disappointed, it looks to me like the supporters will be there for both sides. Look, they're actually spending some quality time together, the Bidens and the Ryans, the families together, unlike in that first presidential debate. Soledad, you're there on the scene. Soledad O'Brien, you're watching what's going on. A little bit of friendly aftermath of this debate. We didn't necessarily see that. We didn't necessarily see that before. We even see some of the kids there up on the stage, sitting in that chair. Looks like Paul Ryan's son. Pretty happy, that little boy.
Right.
Obviously very proud of his dad. Soledad?
Sitting in the debate chair, you're absolutely right. And once again, the audience applauding as the family members spending a few moments on the stage. Audience, of course, not allowed to applaud, didn't make any noise when the debate was going on. And I have to say that was because of the absolute masterful moderating by Martha Raddatz. You could just feel the respect by the audience. She was 100% in control. Lots of substance in the debate, two paths very clearly laid out. A couple of moments, I would say, that people responded to. One was when Joe Biden said malarkey. You could tell that the audience, while they weren't allowed to sort of make loud noises, there was sort of a ripple that went through that. Obviously, Google now saying one of the most searched things. But clearly there was a sense, even though there was some over-talking, it felt like a debate that had heavy substance, lots of detail, and Martha Raddatz leading it every step of the way. People, obviously, as you can see from the pictures there, clearing out now that this debate is over. Wolf?
Soledad, thanks very, very much. Obviously, an important debate. And as I said, I think the Democrats are going to be very pleased with what they heard from Joe Biden. I think the Republicans are going to be very pleased with what they heard from Congressman Paul Ryan. This is one of those debates that will go down, Anderson Cooper, in history because it was very, very substantive. And one thing I did notice is that on the national security, the foreign policy issues, Congressman Ryan held his own with Vice President Biden, who is so much more experienced in these areas than the much younger congressman.
It was a riveting 90-plus minutes, there's no doubt about it, and both men really going toe-to-toe, face-to-face, and neither man blinking, neither side blinking, as I think, as you said, both sides, Democrats and Republicans. There's a lot there that they both will probably be happy about. Let's just quickly go with our panelists, our analysts, our reporters, our contributors. John King.
A quick point about what we saw after the debate. America needs more of that. These are both happy warriors who love what they do. Mrs. Ryan went over and talked to the vice president. Mrs. Biden went over and talked to Congressman Ryan. We need more of that in Washington and across America. People who can have a spirited debate, disagree on just about everything, and then shake hands and say, hey, how you doing? The process would really be helped if we had more of that in the country.
I did get the sense that Joe Biden enjoyed the debate. I mean, enjoyed the process.
We talked about this at the beginning. You have a leading conservative, passionate voice and a leading liberal, passionate voice who believe what they believe, who respect the other side. They don't demonize the other side. And so they had a good debate. They disagreed on just about everything. Afghanistan, Medicare, taxes, health care, abortion. And they went through it, and they both did what they wanted to do. The Democrats are happy. If you look in the Twitterverse, if you read your email, Democrats were despondent, dispirited. They thought the president checked out in the first debate. They're happy tonight. The vice president came. He showed fight. He showed his boss what it is to engage and engage and engage and attack and attack and attack. And Paul Ryan came in tonight and had to defend Mitt Romney, had to prove he was a president. If, God forbid, something happened, if they won the election, he'll leave just as happy. There was not a wipeout in this debate. Both sides came in, and I think we'll leave thinking we did what we came to do.
Let's take a look quickly at one of the initial exchanges and then go to our panelists, which from Joe Biden.
Show me a policy where you take responsibility. And by the way, they talk about this great recession. If it fell out of the sky, like, oh my goodness, where did it come from? It came from this man voting to put 2 wars in a credit card, to at the same time put a prescription drug benefit in the credit card, a $1 trillion tax cut for very wealthy.
Let's try to get just a quick takeaway from everybody. David Gerger.
I think Joe Biden did do his boss a lot of help tonight. Overall, on substance, I think it was a draw. I think each side will draw a lot of encouragement from it. But I do want to make a point. On style, I think that Paul Ryan won the debate. And that is the Biden dismissive laughs, the interruptions, the sort of shouting. I think that Ryan was calmer and, frankly, more presidential. And on style, not substance, I think it was a Ryan victory. On substance, I thought it was a draw.
It was condescending at times to Paul Ryan, and I think I could have done with a lot less eye-rolling and chuckling on the part of Joe Biden. However, I thought it was a great debate. I think it was one of the most substantive debates or engagements we've seen throughout this campaign. I think if people are undecided...
You certainly could not take your eyes off it. I mean, you could not turn away for a second.
But two different worldviews, two different views about the economy. I don't know why there are any undecided people left after this debate, because they need to choose.
We're looking at some of the reaction shots of Vice President Biden. Alex Castellanos, Republican strategist.
Well, Biden had a mission. He had to buy his boss a week until the next debate, and he did that tonight. You know, he fired up the Obama base. He gave him some energy fighting Joe Biden. That was great. They could have taken away his laughing gas a little earlier. He wasn't charming Joe Biden tonight. That wasn't his mission. I thought Ryan proved himself unexpectedly competent on foreign policy, reasonable Republican. He wasn't one of those scary Republicans that Obama's been warning everybody about. So I think Ryan met his test tonight as well. Overall, I have to agree with David, kind of a draw tonight. But Ryan looked very reasonable. On to the next one.
It was interesting, Paul, to see Vice President Biden continually inject himself even when Paul Ryan was talking. Now, some people will say it was rude and annoying. Right. Others will say he was trying to contradict point by point.
Right. And he's not on the top of the ticket. We talked about this before the debate. His mission was to put Romney on trial and to re-energize the Democrats. The change in the race, John King pointed this out before the debate, has been that Romney has moved up. Not that Obama's moved down after the debate. It's that people thought better of Romney, and he began to move up. So Biden put Romney on trial. This, I can tell you, as a Democrat, my Twitter, my email have been on fire. This is exactly the debate performance Democrats needed. Biden showed fire. The one really condescending moment was when Paul Ryan looked at him and said, at Joe Biden, and said, I know you're under a lot of duress. And I'm like, whoa, sonny boy. Yeah, that's way across the line.
Let's just look at one more exchange before we get to Mary Madeline and Van Jones between the two.
Romney's a good man. He cares about 100% of Americans in this country. And with respect to that quote, I think the vice president very well knows that sometimes the words don't come out of your mouth the right way.
But I always say what I mean. And so does Romney.
We want everybody to succeed. We want to get people out of poverty, in the middle class, onto a life of self-sufficiency. We believe in opportunity and upward mobility. That's what we're going to push for in a Romney administration.
Vice President, I have a feeling you have a few things to say here.
The idea, if you heard that little soliloquy on 47%, you think he just made a mistake, then I think I think I got a bridge to sell you.
Republican strategist Mary Madeline, what do you think?
They all of what everybody said is right. Republicans loved it, Democrats loved it. I'm curious to see what independents, or not just independents, undecided soft voters, because style matters. They get it's two different views, but that style matters, that condescending, smirking, laughing. It was akin to Gore's sign. You would really be surprised how much tone when there's such a clear division.
By the way, Paul Begala's reaction to that was a condescending smirk.
Yeah, because it's nonsense.
Okay.
Van Jones?
Well, I guess that settles that. We can all go home.
Van Jones, a former advisor to Obama White House.
Couple of things. I, first of all, thought that Ryan acquitted himself very well. I think he was sometimes a little bit robotic. He did come across smarmy sometimes over-prepared, but he was sitting there and he was holding his own, and I think you can see him as president. I think he may have opened up some doors, though, and you got to look at that. He seems like he's willing to put Americans in harm's way in Afghanistan, in Syria, and possibly in Iran. I don't think that had been on the table as much before. It may become an issue going forward. The other thing is he did not say that abortion would not become illegal under this new administration. So I think that if they win. So I think he may be a problem for him. On the other hand, for Biden put a lot of fact checkers out of work. He was fact checking right there in real time. I thought that was awesome. I was proud to be a Democrat, and I thought the debate overall was American politics at its best.
That was what you wanted to see President Obama do last week.
I wanted to see the fact checking. Hey, why have 1,000 people tomorrow talking about it? He was fact checking on the spot. I think that's what Democrats needed. I think Democrats really needed this performance. This was not for the independents. This was for the faithful to get back in this fight. I think he did that tonight.
So it energizes Democrats.
Energized the base.
You know, one thing that I was disappointed on, though, is that the moderator, Martha Raddatz, talked about the economy a lot, but it was Afghanistan's. It wasn't ours.
You felt too much on foreign policy.
What do Americans care about? We've got a country we fear is going over the precipice economically, and we ended up with a very interesting and informative and productive debate, but mostly about foreign policy.
Were you surprised by the amount of foreign policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's Martha's wheelhouse, number one. And number two, I think the vice president probably came in thinking the more of this, the merrier. Although the Democrats wanted to score more points, talking about the Ryan budget and taxes and the 47%. I do think an election overwhelmingly about the economy, it was a bit surprising. So much time was spent on foreign policy. But again, I think elections are about choices. And Americans pick presidents, not vice presidents. So this is not going to move. That's no disrespect to the vice presidential candidates. Americans pick a president. Again, I'll go back to the 88 example. Dan Quayle did not have a good night on this night in 1988, and his boss won 40 states. So don't think there are states flipping out there.
But the debate tonight does set up next week's debate quite well.
It sets up the debate quite well in the sense that Paul Ryan did nothing to undermine the conservative enthusiasm. The polls have... There are, you can put all the independent voters, the undecided voters in America in this room right now. That's how both campaigns, that's an exaggeration, but that's how both campaigns view it. Much like 2004, they view this as spend almost all of your time and all of your energy energizing your people, because that's where the polls have moved. When Democratic intensity goes up, Obama goes up. When Republican intensity goes up, Romney goes up. And both sides will be happy that they did their job tonight. To the base tonight.
We're going to have more time to talk in detail about this and play you other key moments from this debate. Right now, let's go back to Wolf.
I will say one thing about Martha Raddatz, the moderator. I think she did an excellent job tonight, keeping both of these candidates in place, asking first-rate questions on domestic issues and foreign policy issues. Right now, we're polling people across the country who watch the debate. Will they declare a clear winner? Stand by for the results. Plus, we're also going to be checking in with our focus group of undecided voters. Did they hear anything that helps them make up their minds?